You are listening to The Sound on mySDtalk.com internet radio. The Sound is a program about music, musicians, and all things related to musicians of all walks of life. This is the Monte Beringer episode. Monte's on the line. Monte, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are you guys?
Here, I'll emphasize the "ger" in your last name.
We girded up and got it right.
Oh, hey, we forgot. We always screw up our intros, but this is a live show recorded, and we don't like to edit anything. So across the mic from me is TJ, the DJ.
Hey, thanks, Tony Eclipse. I appreciate it. Better late than never.
Yeah, we screw up everything.
Jeez, no wonder nobody listens.
That's why we say we don't edit the show, is because we'd never get one completed.
Yeah, we'd still be here doing the first one.
Editing.
Yeah, what is editing? So on The Sound, this is the Monte Beringer episode, and Monte is currently with ZZ3, which is one of the top ZZ Top tribute acts around. You guys travel a long, long ways. And should we start from the beginning or the middle or the end? Where should we start, TJ?
Let's start with the name ZZ3. Is it because there's three people in the group?
Well, first I want to thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome.
Actually, the three. I'll tell you what. We when we put this thing together, we had several other names, and every time I went to the web, somebody had already used it. So we just had to keep hunting and pecking until we found one that wasn't already used, because there's billions of ZZ Top tribute bands out there. So that's kind of how we ended up with it. I think the original one was supposed to be ZZ Not, but somebody had taken that.
Well, that's true. When you come up with these tribute bands, you got to get a name that is obviously similar, that someone else hasn't used, and come up with a combination of something. Yeah, you wouldn't want to call yourself, Three Billy Bobs. People wouldn't know. What do they tribute? What is this all about?
Yeah, that's put well, Tony. That's exactly it. So you come up with ZZ3. What year did you form ZZ3?
Oh man, it's been about, I would say, I think we're on 3.5 years now, something like that. Maybe 4. I don't know. I'm chronologically disabled, so I'm entirely positive about that.
Chronologically, okay. So are we. So don't feel bad. So you're calling from? Are you in the Sioux Falls? Where do you live right now?
Yeah, in Sioux Falls.
That's what I thought.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Good old Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Is that where you were born and raised?
Oh, I was born and raised in the thriving metropolis of Gettysburg, South Dakota.
Oh, Gettysburg. Yeah, been there many times.
Played there myself a couple times. The old Town Day street dance situation there.
Yeah.
So you're a Gettysburg boy. What did you do as a kid in Gettysburg, South Dakota?
Well, there isn't much to do there, and that's kind of how I got started into this. Me and a couple of buddies started a rock band. We were obviously not very good, but due to lack of anything else better to do, we decided we were going to start a band.
Ah, and you were always a guitarist?
Well, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. I've played just about every instrument in different bands through the course of the years. I'm currently playing guitar. Before that, I played drums for like 12 years in a band called Stranded with Norman.
Oh, hey. Well, yeah.
Ding, ding, ding,
ding, ding, ding. I never knew that. Huh.
Yeah.
The one of the guys who was a guitar player and vocalist for Stranded with Norman's come up and sang a song or two with Eclipse once or twice over the years at a certain street dance location. I feel bad. I forgot his...
Brian, probably. Brian Detmer.
Yeah, I think, yep. And so that's kind of cool. Small world, small connection. Well, should we back up to the beginning then, since we're attention deficit and like to fly all over the map, and we're talking about
I was just
you play all these instruments?
I was just thinking about you started drums and so on.
Yeah, what'd you start with first? What was the first one?
What was your first instrument?
Well, I don't know if it counts, but when I was a young kid, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old, my first instrument was a banjo that I got for Christmas. And I got in a fight with my brother and whacked him over the head with it, and my parents took it away, and I never saw it again. But I don't know, my first real, as far as rock and roll is, I played in band starting in 5th grade, but I guess I started on bass.
Excellent. That's perfect. That's what everybody should play bass.
Yeah, you couldn't be in jazz band unless you were in marching band. So I started out playing the tuba because my band director told me that would help me with the bass guitar.
Good point. That's a dirty trick to make you have to carry around a big, heavy tuba, but I guess he had a valid point.
Yeah, and I had a really good band director who was, kind of instrumental in me being where I am today.
It's usually the case that someone had somebody that inspired them to continue playing an instrument, because as we learn on this show with most of our guests, Monte, that most people hate practicing.
When they're younger.
When they're younger. They just want to pick it up and play Rush or play Garth Brooks, but there's a long learning curve in terms of instruments. So it's good to always have that mentor. And that was in Gettysburg?
Yeah, and I kind of got both. When I had my school, these sheet music lessons, and then I would go home and figure out the rock and roll stuff on my own. So, albeit the classical training was important and probably not very fun, I still had my own little outlet at home in the basement.
Yeah, we often we ask people that, in the beginning when they started out and taking lessons, and it's kind of a subject that comes up here, a reoccurring theme on the sound is, it'd be nice if music teachers would sometimes throw in something a little modern, a little fun, or something to keep the students' attention span. But I was kind of like you. I guess I understood it was theory, and then I would go home and do my how do I play this cool rock song on my own time. Apply A, B, C, D, E, F, G to something a little cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was your first band? You got any memories pop in your head, like high school? When did you kind of form your first group?
Well, again, like I said, I'm chronologically challenged, but it was either late grade school or early high school. Myself and a couple of buddies in town started getting together and just learning rock and roll tunes. Some of the first, our bass player was a real Kiss fanatic, so of course we had to play a bunch of Kiss and Cheap Trick, stuff like that. Stuff that was keyboardless because there was only 3 of us, so we had a limited amount of tunes that we could cover.
Well,
so mostly guitar stuff.
Which is cool, and in that era too. I mean, I'm kind of guessing years. The keyboard stuff probably wasn't real, prevalent at that time. I mean, if
no, not until well into the 80s. In the 70s, most stuff was guitar oriented. You had your Deep Purple. There was a lot of Hammond B3 stuff, but usually you could get by without the organ if you had to.
Right. Yeah. Just make your own arrangements and stuff.
The 80s were a good time for the keytar.
For the keytar.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
The Hammond B3 organ is one of my favorite personal sounds. You just take an acoustic guitar, electric guitar, a bass, and a Hammond B3 and mix a song. It's one of my favorite personal tones. Did you ever play with anybody that? I never had the opportunity to play with somebody that carried one around. I mean, a keyboard that had a B3 setting. But did you ever play with anybody to carry one of those suckers around in that rotating speaker?
I did not, fortunately. I mean, not that I don't love the sound, but that's a lot of hardware to tote around.
Oh God.
Was there much of a music scene in Gettysburg? Was there much to do there? Everybody knows, most people know where Gettysburg is located. Was there a music scene in Gettysburg, or how far did you have to travel when it came to music in that whole area?
Well, what we would do is we would sort of have our own dances in the city auditorium, or whoever would have us, but in the JCs there, I remember when I was a small kid, used to have a dance once a month, and they would bring a band in. But other than that, there wasn't a lot going on there. We kind of had to make our own scene,
That's very entrepreneurial.
We just wanted to play, so we did whatever it took to get it done.
Right. The passion's there, and then you wanted to play. Was playing in front of an audience, even at a young age, was that pretty exciting?
Oh, yeah, it was a blast. I mean, that's all we really wanted to do. And if we weren't actually doing a gig, we were practicing or building stuff for the show, speakers and lighting, and, we were just always doing something.
That's funny right there. When you're young, you got to come up with that stuff and figure out, how to use it. I mean, I remember having lights with coffee cans and spray paint them black and put the bulbs inside, and homemade light boards. You made some of your own situations too there.
I think everybody's done that.
I know we even had homemade speakers at one point. Actually, we didn't build them. We bought them used, I believe, from Rude Awakening when they had went, and they were all homemade speakers. You know, they had put, obviously didn't make the speakers, but the boxes. I mean, so that's pretty crazy. Do what you got to do to get by. You know.
Yeah, and in those days, I mean, I remember we carried around a lot of empty cabinets just so it looked like we had stuff.
Well, that's true. Sometimes people hear with their eyes. So
absolutely.
Well, ZZ Top, for example. I mean, last 2 times I seen ZZ Top at the Buffalo Chip in Sturgis. I mean, they had a mountain of speakers, you know, stacked up, and 1 or 2 of them were plugged in, and the rest are just stacked
for
up for looks on each side of the kit. But I admit it looked cool. Yeah,
sadly for the purists, if you go out on stage looking good, you've already won half the battle.
This is true. And speaking of that, jumping around, because that's what we like to do, we got Monte on the line. This is the sound on mySDtalk.com. Monte's in a tribute band currently called ZZ3. Talking about the look, I don't know if you had a chance, TJ, to look at these stuff, but Monte has really got the look down of the part. I mean, we're talking, in a tribute band, you do your best to mimic that person and their look.
Of course. I
mean, dude, do you ever get people that just come up to you at shows and just go, man, you almost half creep me out. You look so similar.
Well, I'll tell you a story. Last year, we were in Sturgis doing the rally, and ZZ was playing at the Chip, and so we went out to see him. Actually, we were supposed to have a meet with him. That didn't happen. It's a whole nother story. But we walked into the Chip, and we were swarmed. The opening act was still on stage, and Chip security had to come and follow us around because everyone thought we were ZZ Top.
Good heavens. And you do. If you go to the website, zz-3.com is your website. I got a chance to scope it a little bit and see what was going on. Not only that, but I've seen one in your media kit. You've got the dance moves, the cross the legs, the whole, everything ZZ Top does. You've done that to almost an art. How long did it take to perfect all that?
We started with a few things, and then we just kept adding. I mean, and we're still, we'll watch a show and see them do something, and we'll add it into our show. So it's an ongoing thing, really. It wasn't like, hey, let's in one rehearsal or 2 rehearsals, let's learn all these things. It just kind of happened over time.
Why ZZ Top? Why did you decide to mimic ZZ Top? Why not Kiss or Culture Club, for that matter? I mean, why did you decide? What was it that ZZ Top made you want to go in that direction?
And I want to hear the Culture Club answer too.
Well, I had come out of playing in a disco band, believe it or not. That was I think we had close to a dozen people on the payroll.
Who was that? Was that
the Glory Holes?
The Glory Holes. I was just about to say. Yeah. Awesome. We'll get back to that. Okay, keep going.
With a name like that, you got to talk about it.
Yeah, no, not really. But what we would play in order for us to go somewhere, the price was insane, so it was hard to book the thing. And then also, by the time you divvied up the cash after taking out production and mileage and everything else, there wasn't much left to go around. So my thought, and I liked the idea of doing a tribute, seemed to go over well. So my thought was, well, let's stick with the tribute thing, but let's strip it down. We need to get less people on the payroll. So I was thinking of 3-piece bands, and it's you're down to either Rush or ZZ Top, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I could play a night of Rush.
I got to stop you there. You don't like Rush, and you're not.
I love Rush.
Oh, okay.
I seriously doubt that I could play Alex Lifeson licks, all of them. I'm not that good.
It would be difficult, but not only that is you guys have a pretty good ZZ Top voice, and I think it'd be hard to mimic Rush's voice.
Yeah, that'd
be difficult as hell.
Finding a bass player that could play Getty licks and sing at the same time, there's probably not very many people out there that could do that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they would rush you off the stage because you probably couldn't be that successful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the combination of the sound here with TJ the DJ, and TJ is the music fan, music historian. I can't believe the crap this guy knows sometimes, and I'm the musician, so I knew right away.
I'm the Eddie Trunk of South
yeah,
Dakota.
you are. And he said, right away I knew, oh man, who the heck would want to try and get through all that Rush stuff? Let's do some funky, groovy ZZ Top. So I knew
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I love Rush.
Oh, God,
right.
Rush,
That's why I knew where you come from. I'd be like, I wouldn't, how much I'd have to practice to pull that off? Just kidding.
Exactly.
Speaking of going back to the voice and the singing that TJ was mentioning, you have really got the vocal down. I mean, that's got to be part of what people are hiring you. I mean, the vocal effect. I mean, is that like a flanger you're running on there, or you got Nezzy working for you?
Yeah, Dr. Thud. That's all him. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I sound that much like Billy Gibbons, but some people tell me that. I don't know. I just get it as close as I can and leave the rest of the sound man.
Now, you do a really good job on it with the low parts and the gravelly voice.
Yep, that's true. I agree.
You make it your own, but it's still, it's not like it's 100% different where it's some guy with a, high soprano range voice trying to cover it and you just go, what? I mean, it's really, really good and really groovy. I have not got to see you guys live yet, and I got to make sure I get out and check it out. Who's drumming for you guys?
Terry Betts, Timar. He was in Dakota days prior to this band. He was kind of raised on it's almost country, that style of drumming that's a lot of snare drag, shuffle beat kind of thing, and there's a lot of good drummers in the area, don't get me wrong, but not very many of them can shuffle like he does, so we kind of got lucky there.
That's a good point. And you got lucky with his background. That's a very good point. It takes a special kind of drummer to do that little.
And he looks
boogie.
like the real deal too, like the rest of you. I mean, he looks like the real deal.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It's I wasn't looking for him. It kind of fell into place by accident. When the band I was in, when Stranded with Norman broke up, I had been tossing around this ZZ idea for a while, and I thought, I'm bandless now, so this might be a good time to do it.
I better stop shaving.
He calls me up and he goes, hey, I'm thinking about starting a really good cover band. He goes, would you be interested? And I said, well, I've been tossing around a different idea. I said, why don't you come over and we'll talk? Not even thinking what he looked like or his shuffle background or anything like that. And he came over and I pitched it to him and he said, yeah, let's do it. So it was kind of just a happy accident.
So he's been there from the beginning. Who was the bass player prior to JT? Jerry Turner is in the ZZ3 at this point. But who was, for our listeners on the sound, who was would it be the original bass player then?
Yeah, Steve Holbeck, who was also in the Glory Holes, came along with us. And then he decided, a couple years in that he needed to get a real job.
Yep.
Which was going to require him to shave and, clean up and go job hunting. So
what a bunch of crap.
Too
bad Duck Dynasty wasn't famous then.
Yeah.
He could have kept his beard at any job.
You know what's strange about ZZ Top is the drummer who doesn't have the beard has the last name Beard.
Yeah.
I just think that's bizarre. I spend hours pondering that thought.
It is a good one. The Glory Holes.
The Glory.
Oh my God! This is a big funk disco band with some of the top musicians out of Sioux Falls. These guys used to rock a place called the Pomp Room. All right, here we like to play story time. Are you ready? Pomp Room. Give me a Pomp Room story that pops into your head. Grab the squirrel out of the sky. Pomp Room story. Go.
Well, there are so many, and most of them probably not. You would get cut off. They would push the button and kill you guys off the air if I told.
Well.
those. But back in those days, I was playing with a band called Scanner. But actually, it was the three guys, buddies of mine from Gettysburg, and a couple of guys from Yankton. We had all moved to Sioux Falls to put the thing together. It was, and that was a social experiment in itself. Take a half a dozen guys who just in their 20s, who just got the driver's license with the drinking badge on it.
Yeah.
Put them in a school bus and send them on a bar tour. It was insane.
Sounds like a dream come true for a lot of guys.
I'm probably lucky to have lived through it.
What year did you move to Sioux Falls?
I think it was about 85 or so.
Okay. And you went to Sioux Falls just to work, or did you go to Sioux Falls thinking, I'm going to give this music thing a real good try?
Well, I was living out in Rapid City playing in a metal band.
What was that band called?
Remember the name of that one?
It was called Mob Rules.
Mob Rules. Okay. Did you wear spandex?
Not at that time. That was the parachute. That was the
the
black
parachute.
leather.
Oh.
Wait a second, but back up. He said not at that time.
Not at that time.
We are excited right now. We're so excited. We have a chart on the wall, the spandex chart.
Oh, yeah?
A man like Steve Nelson, he is on the spandex chart. All right. Ready? Here it goes. Did you ever wear spandex on stage?
Sadly, yes. I did.
Yes! Sweet!
We get another one.
Oh, man.
We're going to have a wall full of spandex
Man,
checks.
I hope you burn those photos.
There's probably still posters out there. There's probably evidence laying around somewhere.
Was that uncomfortable?
Well, at the time, it was just what everyone did in the 80s. All the 80s bands, if you wanted to get gigs, you had to wear the garb,
Yeah, the look was just as much as the sound in all essence.
You know what? We have heard that from some guests in that era. It was super important when you were trying to book a job, or even you walked into the club. The look was important. Where nowadays we're in a jeans and T-shirt mode. You don't have to.
Back then you had to do it all. The Aquanet pink, the eyeliner, the spandex, everything. It was, looking back, it was ridiculous, but that's what you had to do if you wanted to play.
Well, it was business, and like the general public didn't realize that, but the club owners that were booking you, like you just said, I mean, if you come in looking too clean cut, they'd probably send you packing before they even heard you play.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can blame the MTV generation for that, because a lot of these bands didn't get the highlight. Well, some of them did. Motley Crue did back in their early days in L.A. at the Sunset Strip, but a lot of them, they may have had the hair, but they didn't have everything else until music videos came. And, of course, the look was, as we just said, it was just as important as the sound. So if you ever get a lot of crap for that, I would just blame MTV.
Well, it's because of video that came.
Yeah.
When it was just radio and people bought albums and 8-tracks and stuff, you couldn't see the band. So it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. Look at Meatloaf. Meatloaf is the best example of that at all. I mean, nothing wrong with Mr. Meat or Mr. Loaf, but he does not look like a rocker, not your typical, rocker. But nobody knew what he looked like for years, because even his albums had all the funky covers. But the guy could sing.
Oh, absolutely. And there's tons of, it's kind of sad. It kind of did a disservice to music from a music standpoint, because if you look at a lot of those bands that were popular in the 70s, had they started up in the 80s, they wouldn't have made it.
No.
And great bands, great musicians, probably better music than that came out of the 80s, but they wouldn't have had a shot,
I was just reading the other day, because I don't have a life, so I read. And what I was reading was what MTV, especially when MTV executives, and I read the history of MTV, the book, when music executives got on a spiel about a band, we'll say Duran Duran, for example, because that sound in the early 80s really wasn't grabbing anybody. You were just coming out of that disco era, and then you went into a lot of crossover hits. A lot of country was making the charts. You had a lot of softer sound coming out, and rock was still starting to creep its way back into the frame, and you had this synth sound, kind of upbeat in a Duran Duran song, but it wasn't catching on. It was companies like MTV, their executives would get on the board and say, not the chicks will watch this because these guys are young, handsome dudes. They were big in England, but they couldn't break into America because radio stations didn't care for their sound, and MTV just crammed it down people's throats in rotation and rotation and rotation, and pretty soon you get brainwashed, and it works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's the extreme. We'll take a couple of guys who look good, and we'll sell it, and we'll have someone else do the music.
Yep.
That's the extreme version of what you're talking about. But music became about how it looked rather than how it sounded.
Yeah. Now, for the record, because I know I'm going to get somebody ticked off, I don't mind Duran Duran. I thought they were better musicians than they've been given credit for. I don't think they're bad musicians at all, but I was just giving that example as to what got them in the
we'll let
train
it slide.
frame. Thank you.
I'm hungry like the wolf. Can we go get something to eat?
Yeah, if my mom's watching, I like Duran Duran. You know that. You bought me Rio when I was a kid.
Okay, sorry. Squirrel. Retention
I'm
deficit.
going to refrain from comments on that.
Okay, thank you. But you know what? The reality was, even one more example of that is Kiss. They still admit they weren't the greatest musicians, but they understood the marketing to their concerts and their shows, and to this day they're touring all over the world, selling out big venues, and part of it's always been the makeup.
Well, yeah, Gene says it's a brand, not a band.
Yeah, it's a brand, not a band. That's true. Very good. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Is that what you believe in? I mean, what do you believe in terms of a musician? Because you've done a lot of things, played a lot of music, and now you are in a real big cover band that's very popular. But as a musician, the purest of you, what do you believe in is important?
Well, frankly, I wish MTV would have never came. Because I'm not really about the look, which is something you wouldn't think I would say being in a tribute band, but, we're taking advantage of someone else's idea, actually. I think music has suffered because of the visual thing. I don't think it is now or will ever be what it used to be when it was just about playing good music.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about, of course, current pop culture television influences in the show The Voice, which starts out good, and they're all good singers or good to great singers on there, where American Idol, some are good and some suck, but then of course at the end it does turn into a popularity contest. But in the beginning of that show, it's a cool concept for young people, influences, when they're just listening to someone's voice. That's pretty cool. It's a good concept.
Yeah, I don't watch any of that stuff, but I have heard the same thing that you just said, so.
But yeah, it changes.
Nor deny it.
Do you like to listen to? Do you like to listen when you're playing? Do you like to listen to other bands, whether it's tribute bands or cover bands in the area? Do you get out and take in much of the music scene?
I really don't, as much as I'd like to. We're busy enough that if I get a weekend off, the last place I want to be usually is a bar.
Okay. Because
I've just spent, the prior 3 weekends in that environment. Mm-hmm. And if I do go out, usually I like to find a little quiet little hole in the wall that serves good drinks and just sit and chat with my friends.
Gotcha.
It's not that I don't love music and I would love to go see but it's just, I don't know. I find it difficult to get myself to do that.
Need your break from it. I catch myself after a show driving home on a Sunday, sometimes listen to talk radio, because I love music, but it's kind of like my ears just want a break or a different change of pace.
Yeah, and I'll drive all the way home from a gig a lot of times with dead silence. Just shut it off and just clear the brain.
Now, how far do you travel? Speaking of after a show. How far? I've been on your website. As a matter of fact, for the record, and you're listening to the sound here on mySDtalk.com, our guest is Monte Beringer. Grr. Tony the Tiger. Great. He's part of the cover band, tribute band ZZ3. My question to you is, how far do you travel?
Well, we'll go anywhere as long as the money is there. I mean, we've got gigs booked. Next year we're going to Houston, Abilene.
Holy smokes.
We're probably going to be doing the Daytona Rally next year.
So you're not going to do my kid's bar mitzvah. I probably couldn't afford it.
So, we work with several different agencies, and if they can find us something that's doable, we'll do it. That's we don't really have a mileage limitation.
Okay, you don't have a mileage limitation. I had just I host a show called the 80s Cassette Rewind, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 1. Ding, 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 name dropping. And what I do is I go over the hits of the current week of a year. This week in 1989 was the one. And what I did is I plugged your band, ZZ3. And you're going to be, I plugged your band that you were going to be on the air, and I said, hey, for a lot of us pure rock and roll people that really like ZZ Top, and we can't always see them. If you want the next best thing, here it is. And I plugged where you're going to be at in the next month or two, and it does look like you're from Iowa to North Dakota. You kind of make the rounds there, and I think that's a tribute to your professionalism, I would say. You'll go pack up and play, and it sounds like you're going a lot farther than Iowa now. You're going to be down in Texas, and that's good work. If you can bring in that kind of crowd, considering people around you know who you are, and you can still pack them in 1,500 miles away, to me that shows that you guys do a pretty good job at your craft.
Well, I don't know if it's that or just pure greed.
If you pay, I shall play.
If you pay, I'll play.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
Name some of the places you played in the past that come to your mind that were maybe a little bit out of the South Dakota realm, say.
Well, this doesn't qualify for that, but we've done. This will be our, I think, third or fourth year in Sturgis, and that's always a blast, even though it's right in South Dakota.
Where were you out there? You were mentioning that earlier. Where were you last year at the rally? What venue?
We're at Easy Rider Saloon every year.
That's the new Easy Riders downtown.
Yeah, yep. And we get tons of gigs from doing that gig because people come from all over the U.S. and and beyond to Sturgis, and so we get people coming up to us after shows constantly wanting to book us, and that's how we got the Texas gigs.
That's very true. I mean, Sturgis. We actually did a whole Sturgis show talking about on the sound. We didn't even have a guest talking about how Sturgis is one of the largest music festivals wrapped up in the form of a motorcycle rally.
Yeah, it is, and that's another thing that's fun out there is when we're done with our show, we'll go see. You can walk down the street and see half a dozen bands easily. So it's kind of fun to go see some other people too while we're there.
Yeah, right. It's just a great venue. So how long has my old pal Mr. JT Jerry Turner been with you guys now? About 2 years, year and a half? What? I don't even remember. You know? That's right. You're horrible with time. Forgot. So am I.
I think somewhere around a year.
Good. And he's really getting the look and the beard down. The look is progressing pretty good. So between the both of you guys, it's pretty comical. When you see the pictures, like, man, these guys can play, they can sing, and the beards, and you're really getting the look down. So it's pretty cool.
That man can grow hair like no other.
Well, you've never met me or seen me, but if whatever his trick is, have him call me. I could use some.
Every place but on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. It's. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, what you got to do as you get older and you start growing all that back hair and you're balding on the top, you just got to start combing upwards from your ass up your back and around. It's like a comb over. It comes up from your butt
You guys are
to
horrible.
your back.
You guys are jerks.
Like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Hey, is your beard real?
Absolutely.
I figured so.
So is JT's. These guys are kidding around.
Is it a pain in the butt when you're not on stage to have that beard?
You know what? It definitely takes some getting used to. I've had it long enough now, or it's kind of, I don't even think about it. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt, and I would hate to have to go job hunting or something.
Do you have a day job?
Yeah, I do. It's at Dakota Entertainment. I'm a electronics tech. I play through gear by night and fix it during the day. I'm a pro audio tech.
So what do your coworkers think?
They're all musicians, right? Pretty much.
Do they think what you're doing is pretty cool?
I don't know. We don't talk about it that much, and I'm quite sure that they're not going to tell me if they think it sucks. But so as far as I know,
you fix some of my gear. Now that I think about it, I can't even remember. It's been a while. So Dakota Entertainment. That's is it Garrett and his brother too? Is that who it is?
Yep.
Down there.
Yeah.
For old listeners, I'm throwing out names. I know Garrett from Rude Awakening is another very popular Midwest cover band. In fact, we better be maybe tracking down one of those boys. We haven't had none of those Rude Awakening boys on either for an episode of The Sound to check that out.
Hey, how much is I like Rude Awakening, by the way, for the record. I've heard them many times back in my college days, Tony.
Good cover band. They still play.
Do they?
They still go out. They still leave the house, TJ.
Okay. So they won't come to mine. Okay, I have to leave the house to go see them again. Okay.
Yeah, I actually did 2 or 3 gigs with those guys last summer when Garrett broke his arm.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, you had to come in and play guitar, obviously, then?
Yeah, yeah.
How much has the music scene changed? Not so much of the sound, and I'll get to that later in the show. But I like to have guests who've been on that talk about the days of, the early 80s, the ballroom days, and things have changed into
Ballrooms, let's go there.
The modern era of music. How much has that whole scene of changed in terms of playing at gigs in ballrooms and bars? And what has it? Have you noticed the change?
Oh, absolutely. Back in those days, you could make a living at it, albeit not a good one, but you could make enough money to survive. It's just not even possible anymore. It's the drinking age and all the ballrooms closed. So
Yep.
it got down to bars.
Yep.
That drinking laws. When I was a kid, if you got caught with beer in the car, they threw it away and told you to go home. So, and not so much anymore.
Correct. I mean, so we've asked this question before because the ballrooms, I was fortunate enough, I didn't get to play a lot of ballrooms. I barely get to play one a year right now because there's none in existence. But my influences as a 15, 16-year-old kid going out to watch music, going out to see Ivory Star, Chainsaw, Johnny Holmes, going to catch these acts at a ballroom
Yep.
was a blast. So I mean, the ballroom's dying. I mean, that's just the pretty obvious. I mean, or what's your take on it? Give me a couple.
Well, most of the ballrooms were 18. Just had beer licenses, and so when the states all turned 21, that kind of put the kibosh to that whole scene. That's what happened there. And I mean, we used to hop in the 80s. We used to hop from ballroom to ballroom, and then we'd play a lot of clubs ran music 7 days a week, so you could stay busy out on the road. And like I said, it wasn't a great living, but
Right.
But it was a living.
That's another good point for our listeners. We haven't had someone bring that up for a while. Back in the day, there were bars around that would run music Monday through Saturday, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday through Saturday. Can you remember any of those places off the top of your head that you used to do?
Oh yeah, well, the Pop Room was one. There was what was that place? There was quite a few of those places in Sioux Falls.
The old Sunbird, they used to do it, right?
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think of, the Sunbird. I think the Barbarian out in Rapid City used to do it. The Ace of Clubs out there used to do it. The Zoo in Aberdeen used to run several days a week. I can't remember if they went 7, but it was quite a few.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was my college. My college town was Aberdeen. I didn't even realize that. And I did get out of the house back then.
Good boy.
And there was a lot of motel bars that ran 7 days a week, Holiday Inns and stuff like that, which was always great for us because they usually provided you rooms there to crash in.
Oh, rooms. Sometimes you get discounts on your food.
Yeah, exactly.
No setting up and tearing down. But one of the points that I'm trying to get to here, and that's when you really, really honed your craft. And the musicians now don't get that. I mean, yeah, they get together and practice, but playing live and practicing are two different things. And when you're out there on a Monday night for 8 people, and then Tuesday night it's 15, and Wednesday it keeps growing. That's when you really hone your craft and learn how do I save my voice for this many nights in a row. If I'm a drummer, how do I save my chops? I mean, do you agree? Do you feel you learned a lot doing that?
Well, which is maybe what we should have done, but we were busy drinking, so there wasn't a lot of saving of anything.
Well, it's all or nothing. Well, that'd help. If you numb yourself, you don't have to worry about it then.
Well, I did a house gig for I don't know, probably 10 years with the Cartwright brothers in Okoboji.
Oh.
Where we played every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And, like you were saying, there's nothing like playing consistently to get a band tight, when you're doing it all the time.
The old Cartwright brothers. This is just like...
This is
fun.
Name Dropper Central.
This is fun for me. So those boys, it's a house gig down there. I mean, that's pretty fun down there on the lakeside, etc. Was it more of an acoustic-based show when they would do that in the summertime?
Well, they do an acoustic duo a lot, but our house gig down there, we had a full band. It was Mark and Jeff, of course, the Cartwright brothers, and then myself. There was kind of a rotating cast George Pewter, Don Cooper, and this new version, Derek Zeke, Brian Detmers. It's been an ongoing thing. And when I first started playing with them, because of work schedules and whatnot, it was a different band, every other weekend. And a lot of times I would go down there. I'd get off work on Thursday and hop in the car and drive down there, and I didn't know what instrument I was going to play until I got there.
I was going to ask you, were you playing guitar or drums with them? So you would get switched.
Yeah, whoever showed up.
Is that hard?
Show up.
How hard is that to do, Monte?
I don't know because I'm in it. And it was a kind of a loose band. I mean, we were tight on a lot of stuff, but they do comedy parodies, and they have a request tip jar. People throw a dollar in.
So real loose party fun. So I got you.
Yeah.
Like a dueling piano show-esque thing. As long as you can hammer out the chorus and make people have a good time and sing the same verse twice, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. So it was not a real rehearsed. It was tight but unrehearsed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, which makes for a lot of fun. And the crowd, they know that, and they can feel that feed. They're like, they are pulling this stuff out of their ass, and it makes it a little more fun because the crowd knows that it's not a pre-rehearsed.
If you screw up, they kind of half expect it because you're just winging it anyway. And if you play it really good, then that's a bonus too. But
it's like a double bonus then.
Yeah, and I've been lucky. I've had the pleasure of playing with some of the best musicians in the Midwest. Like the list goes on and on, just some really, really good players. So, pretty lucky that way.
The tribute bands are starting to really take off around. I'll just say the Midwest because I haven't been out in the East Coast or the West Coast to take a look at the market for that. But the tribute bands are really starting to take off. Was there ever a point in your career with ZZ3 that you sat back and said, God, maybe this isn't the right band, or maybe we shouldn't be doing this, or we should go back to something else? Or when you started ZZ3 and you took off, did you know that was right?
Well, I kind of had a feeling from the get-go, and there's just, as you guys probably know, there's not a lot of money in the bar scene anymore. The bar owners just, due to a lot of things, like I said, drinking age, drinking laws, smoking ban, video lottery, the list goes on and on. They're not making enough money to really pay the bands like they used to. So we wanted to take it in a direction where we were doing more events and festivals and that kind of thing, where there's still people throwing parties. Well,
it's a better business idea. Corporate gigs, if you can come up with a corporate type of act business-wise, it's just a better business idea. You're going to get paid better, like we were talking about, number one. But to come up with a tribute act and have a good one and successful, not everybody can do it. It's a hard niche to find, and you guys did a good job, finding that niche. Hairball, for example. I mean, look how that grew over the last 10 years. I mean, I remember, just seeing them, very few costumes or anything in the early days in the cities. And that act, you guys have done some shows with those guys, haven't you?
Yeah, we do a lot of shows with those guys. We share the same agency for a lot of stuff, so they put us back to back a lot. We've become pretty good friends with those guys. They're great people, and they have a hell of a show,
Yeah, they do. I've had the opportunity. I think I've opened up for them 3 or 4 times myself in different spots, Hairball. So that's pretty cool. So you got the same agent, so you'll get on the same bill. That's going to be fun for the crowd, too. You come out and you kind of... And those Hairball shows, isn't that pretty cool how 50% of the crowd or more will dress up 80s style and put on a mullet wig? And some of the mullets are real, aren't they?
Yeah, even the kids, which I find kind of crazy. Even the kids who weren't even born yet in that era kind of get into the whole scene,
Yeah, there was we opened up for them at the Swiftel Center in Brookings, South Dakota, and I was going out watching the Hairball set out front. There was a kid out there in an AC/DC t-shirt, I don't know, 10 years old, and I just said, "You must have cool parents, kid," or something, and and his mom and dad were behind him, and then I said, "Hey," I said, "I'll take this kid backstage if you guys want. So I'm not a creeper or nothing. You want to come with, etc." Obviously, I'm stealing your kid.
Yeah.
So they walked with us, and went backstage and you were talking about how nice those guys are. So I mean, the guitar tech let this kid take pictures with the Prince guitar and some of the more iconic. So yeah, it's a good tribute show, and they are generally good people to work with.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a good time for us. In fact, I think we got a show coming up with them in I want to say Denison. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but we're doing a festival down somewhere in Iowa with those guys.
Oh, cool.
Here.
Cool. What are you listening to right now in life? What do you catch yourself listening to?
Oh man,
Country rock. Yeah.
I listen to everything. You know, I started off in jazz band playing bass, and I still have a love for big band stuff. You know, Glenn Miller and that kind of stuff. And then just all across the board, rock and roll, old to new, just whatever. I like any kind of music that's done well.
I'm kind of like you. Yeah, same thing.
What do you like for new stuff?
It depends on what you consider new. I'm kind of out of it at the moment. Just whatever someone. I don't explore a lot on my own, but I have friends who will say, "Hey, check this out. These guys are pretty good." The last thing, and this is already probably old, but the last cool thing I heard I saw on I think it was Palladia, a Shinedown concert, and I thought those guys were really good.
I like Shinedown.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Yeah, I like Shinedown a lot. Is there a song with ZZ3 that? What's your favorite ZZ Top song? Is there a song that, boy, you can't wait to play? You just really enjoy playing the song?
I like them all. This is kind of sick and twisted. The one I probably like playing the most, and it's not even a very pop. I just like it because it's kind of out of the norm. Is Manic Mechanic. And we don't get to do it all the time because it's kind of a B-side thing. And our shows are a lot of times we only get an hour, maybe 2 hours, so we don't get to play the whole catalog. But on the rare occasion we do get to play it. I love playing that song.
Well, ZZ Top, you know, they're such incredible musicians, and some of their earlier stuff didn't get the radio play until they, you know, got commercialized with some of their legs. And what's the ballad?
Sharp Dressed Man and
Eliminator
Rough
came
Boy.
out. Yeah.
Eliminator came out.
Rough Boy. Yeah.
You know, they had a different sound. And Monty, you can probably probably as much as Tony and I.
More.
Their sound in the 70s were it was a lot different. More of that Southern Texas sound. It was a lot different in the 80s when things got a little more popped up.
The producer learned how to make them commercial radio friendly.
You tweak the sound a little bit for what's going on, I suppose, in terms of
top 40. They brought in the synth. You know, all the early stuff was just straight guitar blues rock, and then in the 80s, starting on Eliminator, they started adding all the electronic goo to the albums. Not that I like or dislike either thing, but it really is two completely different sounds. You know, MTV kind of brought them back into the fray. They were on their way out until the video started.
Well, they were interesting looking, and they had hot chicks in their videos, so why wouldn't you want to watch that, huh?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. That's
hot chicks and cars.
Yeah,
yep.
That's what made them popular, and that's what drew people into ZZ Top. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Sometimes you gotta bring in that synth and cheese it up and radio friendly it up to get those listeners, and then they start exploring your other stuff.
Honestly, I'd always thought to myself, because I knew ZZ Top's older stuff in the 70s, and then, of course, the MTV era is what I call it. I always kind of wondered if they really liked the newer stuff in the 80s, if they really enjoyed that, because it was so different than what they were doing.
Yeah, well, the producer at the time, Terry Manning, keeps saying that he has all sorts, and I'm sure he does, has all sorts of inside info on that, but is unwilling to talk about it. But from what I gather, there was quite a rift in the band at the time when they started leaning into the pop. I speculate that probably the drummer probably Frank didn't like it much because a lot of the drums were tracked.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I bet.
And a lot of it was bass synth. So, actually that a lot of the success of those albums can be attributed more to the producer than the band.
That's
very, very interesting.
No, that is a good point. That's what a lot of people, a lot of people who aren't musicians probably don't realize that the producers do a lot for it. Mutt Lange is another good example, Monty, what he did with, Def Leppard's old stuff, from listening to Me and My Wine to pretty soon you got Photograph and Pour Some Sugar on Me. It's a much polished, I've heard the word polished, I don't know if you call it that or not, but it's just a different sound, and that's because of the producer, in this case, Mutt Lange.
Yeah, and polished is a great adjective for that, for what he does, He spit shines the stuff.
Have you ever written original music in the past?
Not for years. I'm going to be getting back in. I have a studio, and I've mostly just done mastering for other people, and I've recorded demos and stuff for other people, and about 2 years ago, I started, I've got a whole slew of unfinished stuff, and I need to get, I'm going to be getting back into that probably after our summer season. Summer for us, for the ZZ Band, is really busy because that's when all the bike events are and stuff like that. But when it starts to chill, I'm going to be getting back into writing some of my own stuff.
Good. Well, I always think that's interesting when people go back and write.
That's a good comment you made. I mean, even I'm like that. You got stuff sitting unfinished, and for some reason you just don't. You got ideas, and you just don't. I'm going to get to that, and then you don't get to it.
Yeah, well, for me, coming up with a part of an idea is quick, but then finishing it is a whole nother story.
That's a very good point. Yeah, writing's a whole different monster. It's kind of. You always hear people say, professional writers, and they'll take writer trips or things to get inspiration. And sometimes one will just come to you out of the blue like a lightning bolt, and you're lucky. And the next time, it's like you said, it's an idea, it's a hook, it's a riff, and then you got to finish the rest of it. And then you just kind of sit there with the 50% finished material for a while.
Yeah, I started keeping an acoustic guitar beside my bed and a notepad, and because it's weird. Most of my ideas come in the middle of the night. I'll wake up with something in my head, and if I don't get it down right away, it's gone. So I've got all of these, starts of songs scribbled out, and that's about as far as it goes. Life gets in the way. I get busy and move on to something else.
You talk about your busy season on your website. It looks like you have a lot of outdoor events, and probably because of the biker events that go on. How long is a ZZ Top show for? How long do you play for?
Well, we can do 3 hours. Actually, a little more than 3 hours. We don't like to.
No, well, when you ever do a long show, do you get to do a break like a cover band or in a tribute? Or are you doing concert style where you got to blow it out in one long set?
Well, what we like to do is 275s with a break in the middle, and we'll do a costume change. That seems to. If we have to do three hours, we usually split it up with 2 breaks. And the problem with it is, 3 hours of ZZ Top is a lot for anybody.
Yeah.
So, and then if you do 3 hours, you got to go a little bit into the back catalog and maybe play some songs that aren't familiar to anybody but the hardcore fans. So, if we can keep it to 2 hours, we can just hit the hits and keep them interested. Seems to go better.
Well, it's like anything. I mean, that's why a movie isn't 8 hours long, and that's why a pro concert is an hour to an hour and a half long. You can't sit and watch a 3-hour concert. Your attention span just isn't there.
Yeah.
Bar bands, cover bands in a bar is a little different because you're able to jump all over the map, and you take a 15-20 minute break, and etc. You're there to sell beer.
In a regular cover band, you're playing music by everybody from every genre or whatever, but for us being a tribute band, if it's not a ZZ Top song, we don't play it. And
you've never met ZZ Top? You've never had the honor to run into them or meet them anywhere?
Well, a quick. I don't know how much time we got. I can do a quick little story here.
Yeah, give us a story. We like stories. Our listeners love them.
Last year in Sturgis, and I still have all the messages in my email account. We had it hooked up. We were supposed to meet them at the Chip, and we had it all set up. We were going to be endorsed by them and get pictures with them, do the whole deal. We were going to be the official U.S. ZZ Top tribute band. And that's why we went to the show. Big reason why. We were supposed to get backstage passes and meet them and all this and that. Anyway, so we get there. There's no passes. They had to go chase down the stage manager, and he had to get us in. Didn't get backstage, and then they told us to come to the dressing room door afterwards. We went there. We stood there for a half hour, and the guy comes out and says they left.
Aww.
So we were not real happy with ZZ Top right that particular moment.
And some of that could have been, I just don't know with pros, or they'll do whatever they want, but some of it could have been, you never know, managers and communications and stage hands. I mean, out there's a VIP manager, there's this manager, there's a lot of delegating going on, so the communication loop.
Yeah, and their management has promised to make it right with this, although to date nothing's happened.
That would be awesome if you guys could get endorsed by him, and it sounds like you guys deserve it, and I hope it happens for you.
I hope so too, because that if we're able to even get anything close to that, it'll do a lot for selling the band.
Well, that's a big boo for not meeting ZZ Top yet.
The cheesy sound effects TJ the DJ brings in.
Yeah, I kind of dig those sound effects, but it's too bad because you put a lot of time in because you're professionals, not just your love for ZZ Top. But hopefully that day comes around and they do make it right for you. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I hope. I'm not about to spend any money trying to get it done again. They're going to have to come to us, but because that was a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Well, Monty, we're just about to the end of the ding ding bell here. It's been good having you on. This is The Sound on mySDtalk.com. Listeners of The Sound, don't forget you can download the TuneIn app on your smartphone. The TuneIn app on your smartphone. Search out mySDtalk and you can listen live. These programs play in rotation on The Sound along with music and many other types of programs. Or you can go to the archive section on mySDtalk.com and check out the Monty episode at your own convenience. Monty, thanks for coming on today. Listeners of The Sound, make sure you check out ZZ3, the ZZ Top Tribute Band.
Monty, exactly where? Give me some dates where you're going to be here in the next so many weeks.
If you don't know dates, just even places.
I can probably help you.
End of the month, we're at the Mystic Ballroom, I know, in up by the cities with Warrant. We're doing a show with Warrant.
Oh, you're doing a show with Warrant. Yeah, that's Saturday, May 31st. And then on June 8th, you're at the Sioux Falls American Legion for a benefit.
We're way ahead of you. We found
I found
Google.
Yep. And then July 11th.
Better than I do, because I keep track about 1 week at a time.
Well, I understand. And you got a lot going on. Friday, July 11th, you're at the Icon Lounge in Sioux Falls. And then July 12th, you go all the way to Bowman, North Dakota.
Yeah, that's going to be a trip. It's about, I think, 8 or 10 hours up there.
Oh, we should have waited and done this episode live in the studio. He would have been driving right down the interstate past our studio.
Could have swung through.
I bet you he knows how to run the buttons in his studio.
Oh, probably much better than we
do.
do.
We're heading out of Sioux Falls immediately following the Icon show and going to try to get up to Gettysburg. That'll put us about halfway there, and then we'll go on to Bowman the next day.
Wow.
Well, it's been a cool ride talking music with you and going over your career and where you are, and good luck with down in Texas, and good luck with everything that you do. And we'd like to visit with you again one day, and I hope I can run into your ZZ3.
We're going to a show.
Yeah, we definitely like to go to, if we can, shows that the guests that we have.
They have Miller High Life. TJ will come, otherwise he's not in.
I'll come, and then I want to get backstage and say, I'm a roadie. I was a roadie for the Marshall Tucker Band or something. That'll pick up chicks.
Well, make sure to stop up and say hi if you get out. We'd love to meet you guys.
Oh, God, this would be cool. It'd be just an honor. Monte Beringer from ZZ3, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. Have a great summer, and don't get rid of the beard. I hope you guys stay going for a while.
You gonna take us out some ZZ Top, maybe, TJ?
Yeah, we're gonna take it out with some ZZ3 here. Go ahead and pick the song from your website. You have about 10 songs there if you are familiar with your website.
Oh man, I don't even remember what songs are on there.
How about go throw one out there, mate? I'll tell you whether you have it or not.
Maybe get lucky. If not, we'll pick one.
I think isn't Heads in Mississippi on there?
Bingo.
Bingo.
Yep, Bingo. We're gonna take it out with Heads of Mississippi from ZZ3. Monte, thank you so much again. Take care, and we got to meet up soon.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was fun. Monte Beringer, ZZ3. That's it. That's it for this episode of The Sound for TJ.
And I'm Tony V.
You guys take care. Here's a little Heads of Mississippi from our guest band ZZ3.
Take care, Monty. Good night.
Yep, thank you guys.
Texas sound, but my head's in Mississippi. I'm shuffling through the Texas sound, but my head's in Mississippi.